set it up. That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
We've got, is it Susan in Albany, New York?
Yes, that's me.
How you doing?
Great. Good. I just wanted to comment on what I think is one of the most repugnant things about the whole idea of Jesus' sacrifice. And it seems to be an idea that's involved in what that caller was saying about how God can judge us because he has the ability to judge us. It seems to me there's this notion that because I created you, therefore I get to do whatever you want, and that my right to own you is more important than your right to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so since God supposedly created all of us, it's right that he should be able to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of a letter that we got a while back where it was a guy who had a 9-month-old daughter, and I was talking to him about his daughter, and I was saying, you realize that what you're saying is that you believe that she is so unworthy that she deserves hell.
Yeah.
And we argued a little bit until he finally acknowledged that yes, that's what he had to believe, that she is deserving of hell, and that's why he wants to raise her Christian so that she can avoid hell, because otherwise that's what God says she deserves, and that him as a Christian has to believe that. Yeah. And I'm like, and I explained to him when I wrote back, I just said, if I had a 9-month-old, I don't care if it's born without limbs. When I look at that child, I'm going to say that child is perfect. And if you can look at your baby and say, this baby is so flawed that it deserves nothing less than eternal torture, I can only hope that when she gets older, she doesn't internalize your contempt for her.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Well, it's not my contempt, it's God's contempt.
That you agree with.
Yeah.
That you happen to agree with.
Yeah,
and believe me, a child understands when, Dad is saying you're not really, valuable.
I got an email here. I'm not going to read it, and I'm not going to give you the name, but it's from a 15-year-old who's having doubts about their beliefs. Let me just, if this will load, because I think I lost my internet connection. This is one sentence. I read the section about the historicity of Jesus, and I noticed half the stuff he used didn't add up to affirmations of Christ's existence. But I didn't research anything more because I'm scared. Scared out of my mind that there's a possibility that I'm wrong. And I feel like a heretic just thinking about it. Anybody who says that this simple little indoctrination is relatively harmless is a liar. You're naive. I'm not going to go as far as some other people have done, saying that all religious instruction is necessarily child abuse. I'm a fan of teaching religion, all religions, because I think it teaches us more about who we are and who other cultures are. I'm a fan of teaching the Bible because I kind of like studying the book and the history of the book and the things that are in the book. And it's useful because typically I know more about what's in the book than the people who bother calling. But when you indoctrinate someone, when you dogmatically teach someone something, when you burn it into their brains, you basically create someone who is now scared to assess the possibility that they might be mistaken for fear of torment and torture. The mafia boss analogy is not even remotely unfair. If anything, it's far too nice, because a mafia boss couldn't possibly torture anybody forever. It drives me nuts the way this stuff goes. But I picked that particular example of the rapist and the little girl because it came up on Ray Comfort's blog in the last week, and Ray, and I can't pull it up now because I lost my internet connection, but Ray's response was, yes, absolutely, break my heart, but she deserved it. I mean, that's really what they're saying.
Well, and the reality is there's really not much of a judgment going on.
Yeah.
He who believes and is baptized will be saved. He who believeth not shall be damned. It's not about, there is no judgment. There is no, looking at your life. Basically, it's a presumption that all human beings are worthy of whatever you think is the negative response. And to a certain degree, I would say that I don't want to say having flaws, because I see that as kind of a weird thing. I don't know that I have in my head a model of a perfect person.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look like. But it probably wouldn't include chasing people around with whips, out of a temple. But what I do think to a certain degree is that struggling with learning and with sometimes making the wrong decision and trying to do the right thing, I see that almost as being part of being human. And it's a a part of being human that I should think would be valuable, not something that should be spit on and treated like it's wrong. And to tell people that, you know, as they're working things out in their life, and as they sometimes might do something that later they think, oh, there was a better way to handle this, or, you know, maybe I did a really wrong thing and I resulted in, I hit a car and I killed 3 people. I mean, sometimes we do things that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives. But to be telling people that there is this overblown, like, extra cosmic penalty for things that we deal with in the here and now, I just don't see the point to tormenting a person like this. And I'm just going to say that's a minor that you were reading that letter from. It's a minor. It's a minor who's scared out of his mind that what he's been told is true, and he doesn't know how he can force it. You know, he's got to keep believing it. He has to believe it. And there's so many people who have been, you know, ex-adherents who talk about that fear of, you know, I just didn't know what to think, and I just prayed and prayed and prayed, and I was so scared because I didn't want to make a mistake, and it's just drilled into them. The threat of the magnitude of the wrong choice, which would be not believing, is so drilled into the heads of these children that they're not, it's almost like they won't stop until they have some excuse to believe. And I think that's the whole point.
And in one of the most offensive moves ever, when somebody expresses that fear, or you know, one of the responses is that, well, you know, that's God, you know, trying to show you that this is wrong. This fear, this supposed conscience thing, it's reprehensible.
Well, just investigating it, doubting it is just, you know.
That's what it's a heretic just thinking about it. Yeah.